The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Listen in as your host, Casey Colburn, brings together a perfectly picked panel of guests to discuss hot topics and events within the metaphysical and paranormal field. But don't worry, should the discussions get too heated, our studio switch will sound a cackle to simmer the cauldron back down. Listen for new episodes of Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. only on Paranormal Buzz Radio. This is Season 1, Episode 7, and today we are talking about para-unity. I'm your host, Casey Colburn, and today we are welcoming to our circle Daniel Klaes, Conor Hawkins, Heather Mattison, Laurie Wagatha, and Brooke Wagatha. Welcome to Cauldron Talk, guys. How are we all doing today?
Wonderful.
Good. Awesome.
Before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Daniel Klaes. I own the Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. It's a famous haunting that's known across the world. I travel around the country speaking about it at different events and Paracons and Comic Cons, and an author. And I have 2 books hopefully ready to come out in December.
Cool.
Which this will be January, so hopefully they'll be out.
Cool. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully the next time we have you guys on, you can talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
My name's Conor Hawkins. I live at Statler City. I've been with Statler for perhaps around 10 years now. And obviously it's one of the biggest buildings in downtown Buffalo. It's 950,000 square feet. And after, my boss taking over that building, I was in that building a lot, and I started to see and hear a lot of things that couldn't be explained. So we invited some tour groups in to investigate it. And Statler's pretty much well known around the country for being one of those haunted locations in Western New York. We've had a few TV programs come in and shoot there, and a lot of different events. And it's been really fun for the last 10 years, getting to know and meet some of the people in the paranormal community.
My name is Heather Mattison. My husband Bob and I own Greystone Manor. It's an old Victorian home we've turned into a B&B. We've been here about 2 years, and we started having activity as soon as we moved in. So we also invited people in to sort of validate or see if they were picking up the same sorts of things we were, as far as friends who were psychics and paranormal people. Had lots of activity since we turned it into the B&B and since we moved in.
Awesome.
My name is Brooke Wagatha. I'm the co-owner of the Wildwood Sanitarium with my mom, Laurie Wagatha. We've owned the house now since 2017, so we're kind of new to the game, but we've been featured on multiple television shows, including a documentary that will be coming out soon in January. We also rent the house out to public investigations, and we do private investigations. We, in total, have been doing this for a few years now. We're Reiki healers, and we're also trained psychic mediums. That's about it.
Yep. Greystone Manor, too. Heather Mattison. I'm also a psychic medium and a Reiki master, and I hold classes here at the house. We also open up to private investigations and public investigations, too, as far as paranormal investigations go.
Yes, and since we're messaging, saying that, same with Hinsdale.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good too that we have such a tight community with all of us. All the owners of these locations all get along very well. We all co-market. It's easier to co-market things when we have friends that own haunted locations, because it's so easy for me to say, "Did you check out Greystone Manor? Did you check out maybe we can get a tour at Statler. Did you check out Wildwood? And it's good for people that are trying to come in from out of town, because it's opportunity for them to have multiple locations to investigate in a weekend, as opposed to making a trip out from one. It's good, and I think it's putting Western New York on the map. The fact that we have it like this.
Yep, but I just went up to the Niagara Falls Tourism Rainbow Center and picked up like 2.5 cases of the Haunted History Trail of New York State, the guides that they hand out for New York State tourism, and we're all in the last one. So I tell everybody all the time. I always hand these out to people when they come by. So I've given out about at least 2 cases of these already. So every time we have groups here or people in for readings or for any sessions or anything we're doing, I always tell people the same thing. Like, you need to check out, go to Hinsdale, go to the Statler, check out all the other places that are in here. Wildwood.
We're exactly the same way. We always hand out the flyers, tell people about the different places we've been. We always advertise our friends.
Yep.
Yep.
We do the same. It is a small group. It's like people who are interested in that are funny because they will go pretty far. They'll travel.
Oh, yeah.
3-4 hours, no problem in a night.
And if you could throw like a tourist attraction like Niagara Falls in the middle, for the I sometimes I can't get my wife to come out. I go, could you get her to go to Niagara Falls? Well,
right.
Yeah, probably. Well, there you go. Sweep her off her feet. Bring her to the romance capital of the world.
Well, I think a big difference these days is the power of social media. Before, people didn't get to hear about places like Greystone or Statler or Wildwood, and now they do. And obviously, we're seeing visitors from as far as Germany. We had somebody from Germany last year come to see the Statler with this paranormal lockdown, and it's bizarre because, as you said earlier, someone mentioned earlier, people do not mind traveling to go and see their favorite location, and word of mouth was maybe how some of these things were advertised before, but now with social media, it's a whole different ballgame. Everything's changed.
Yep, it definitely makes the world small. It makes the community even smaller. This little area just seems like it's nothing for them to go from place to place. We're all really within a couple hours of each other. So it's nice.
I actually had someone come from Singapore last winter to tour the Wildwood Sanitarium.
Yep, we had Russians in too this summer.
That's cool.
We had a whole group of Russians coming in to Niagara Falls, and they saw our house posted, and we've been on a couple TV shows and things too, and they heard about us, so they stopped in, stayed for a weekend. Funny, on their way to the falls. So it was very funny. They were asking us all sorts of funny, what happened here, what did you experience? And they're really, really into it. So very funny.
I've also had it where the locals have also came up to me and said, we appreciate you doing something in this town because other than the casino, there isn't much going on, and we appreciate you bringing business from out-of-towners to come here, and spend money at, the gas stations and the restaurants and everything.
Well, that was my biggest struggle when I first bought the Hinsdale house. I was like the only game in town besides for Rolling Hills Asylum and what's the one in Lovejoy, Iron Island Museum.
Iron Island, yeah.
Yeah, so in order for me to get any support from the county, it was taking a lot. And then when we started doing the marketing and getting teams in from different countries, and they were taking hotel rooms up and patronizing the restaurants, that is when things started to pick up. That's right about when Laurie and Brooke got in the game as far as getting Wildwood, which is great because now it was like we were able to market 2 locations that are within an hour of each other, with owners that can actually get along, and it was great. And then the Cattaraugus County took notice, and they actually had me come down and speak to the whole board about tourism. And it's like you have to be able to promote your location in the right way. You got to put the numbers down. You got to have the numbers. Like I was able to actually produce numbers from tours because of all the ticket sales that we've had for tours, and say, we had almost 2,000 people come in from out of town to come to tours at the Hinsdale House this year, and then we had 2 television shows there, and they took notice, and that's when they actually started pitching in and helping. I mean, they actually paved the whole road up the hill to Hinsdale House, They actually put up
I
street
heard.
signs.
That's amazing. Good.
Yeah, they're helping. It's great, and they do whatever they can to help. If I ever need anything, it's nice.
Yeah, the county like posts all of our events and stuff on their Facebook, their website, everything. We're really supportive.
That's awesome. I have a couple of questions for you guys today. My first one is, what is para-unity?
So para-unity is, I guess you're going to take a whole group of paranormal investigators from a location, and actually you can take the whole United States, in fact, but it's where everybody gets together with different ideas. Maybe they don't have the same, maybe they don't agree on certain things, but they still get along. Everybody gets along, and everybody's in it for the better cause. Paranormal investigating, trying to figure out what's in the afterlife. And I think in Buffalo is a great example of para-unity. You know, I've gone to other states, other regions, and I think we have it really good here. I think we really do, with the way everybody supports each other, you know, and just in Statler, the tours that we do at the Statler are a perfect example of para-unity, because any given week you could have people from a different paranormal group there helping out with the tours. You know, it's great that everybody gets along, everybody works together, and everybody has a fun time doing it. It's not a competition. You know, in other areas I feel like it is. And it's the same way with the Hinsdale House. I don't want to do all the tours there. I want other people to do things, you know, so I open the doors to anybody and everyone that wants to come in and maybe do a tour or run an event. You know, it's not about putting me on a pedestal. It's about showcasing what everybody's talents are in the region, and we're eclectic in that aspect, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody brings something different to all of the haunts that we have. You know, all the different locations we are in charge of basically are different. We are all offering different things, which is sort of neat. I'm friends with the people who run Meriden Manor up here in Niagara County, and then Van Horn. So that's a whole bunch of different things too. You got a whole winery up there, you know, so it's very different. I like that everybody's sort of doing something different. So it makes it unique. It's definitely unique. And I've met other groups from other cities, and they definitely battle. They're very territorial. They don't like to get along. It is very unusual here, you know.
I mean, there are other states that, you know, I've been to other states where it's similar, like Iowa, the whole state of Iowa. Everybody loves each other. Everybody gets along. Michigan's very cool. And the one thing that stands out about Michigan for me is that they have like five big paracons throughout the whole year in Michigan. Each paracon from each region is helping to promote each other. They're at each other's events. You know, they're promoting and co-promoting the events, and it makes for each paracon to be unique and great. And I see a lot of that there. But like you said, I've been to places where it's like, you know, that people are putting up forts to you know, fight off for their territory, and it's like, it's just not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with para-unity, you know, what I've noticed with being with the Statler for the last 10 years, obviously it's very central to everything in Western New York, and where we are, we're an hour and 15 minutes away from Hinsdale, we're an hour and 15 minutes away from Salamanca and Greystone Manor. So I think that it is kind of very cool to be, you know, a great central location, and when it means that we need help, then there is an awful lot of people, different groups that are willing to come down, and they get to investigate and lead groups, and you know, and they're there to try and promote their own brand, and I guess they're always trying to promote what the brand, what it is down there at Statler City, and we're always grateful. I mean, is there people that don't get along? Perhaps. I mean, we always see some sort of kind of rumblings on Facebook, but I think as a whole in Western New York, the para-unity is very, very strong. And, you know, one example of that is that you all guys have been at the Statler, and you see what Dan and I do, you know, maybe once a year, twice a year, and try and bring psychic furs and run kind of mini ghost tours. An awful lot of people are coming out there, and I think people are getting really a lot more interested, maybe because of the Travel Channel and A&E and all these different TV shows and social media. So I think that we've been very lucky with the last, 10 years in Western New York, and it's just building and building, and I think it's going to be strength to strength. And it is, for the most part, everybody does, share everybody else's events and gets along with everybody. But again, you maybe have a few bad apples along the way, but as a whole, it's a very, very rewarding and enjoyable thing to maybe call yourself a paranormal investigator these days, or to be a part of a group and to be a part of tours. It's a really good feeling about it. If you get that great EVP, if you get that great picture, you share it with all your fellow power people, and everybody just, is excited for you too, I guess. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, we kind of agree with you guys. But with Para Unity, we see it as our people who clear houses, who make jewelry, who are just mediums, the healers. We're all kind of in one big community here. We all are trying to do something with the afterlife. I mean, we're all kind of in the same end goal, is to kind of figure out what happens in the afterlife. And over the years that we've been doing this, even before we owned our own location and everything, we always met the best people. Like Conor said, you met the few bad, but all the good people that you meet in this community really makes up for it. I mean, we've met people that literally will tell us, pick a weekend and we'll come and help you fix the house. Pick a day and I'll come clean the house for you. Anything like that. Just recently we had all of our public investigations in October, and we had a group coming from Albany to help us. I mean, just that far of a drive, just to help us and support us with what we're doing. And then with that, they actually will be in our documentary that's coming out in January. They got to investigate the house all night, and we just all kind of support each other.
What's really cool is last time they were here, they actually went through some of their footage and they caught apparition that they're going to release tomorrow. So that's exciting that they caught on the 3rd floor.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it also, involves people, even like historians. I've had people from the local community come up to me and say, gee, thanks for trying to save this place. I was wondering what was going to happen to it. And, more and more people are getting involved with learning bits and pieces about the history about the place, and they're really excited about it. And it kind of gets the whole community involved, not just, paranormal investigators. I mean, it's a big, wide circle of people.
Laurie, you were there when I first bought the Hinsdale house, and I was scared about getting that roof put on. And 63 people showed up painting and just doing whatever they could.
We were one of them. Yep, we were there. We were chipping paint and fixing up the porch just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have actually just kind of covered a little bit of my second question, so I was going to ask, who does the para community encompass?
Yeah, I mean, like we've touched on, it touches on any range of layperson, psychic medium, any type of, I would say that healers, people that are healers, I think that's a good word to use, because we're in it to help people and in it to help heal people. We're in it to figure out what is there. And I'm even going to throw in people that are interested in other paranormal or other unexplained things. Like I'm starting to see a trend where people that are interested in aliens, people that are interested in cryptozoology, things like that are all coming together.
That's definitely,
with this,
we're definitely connected.
Yep, we're friends with a group out of Bradford that's, into the Bigfoot hunting and stuff. We've helped him with some things too.
So I think all different walks of life is the community. Anybody that's interested, even from the novice to somebody that's been doing it for 15 or 20 years, if you're interested in it and you're out doing it, you're part of it. And I think it's... go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I've had a lot of people actually thank us, too, for, opening our doors and allowing people to come in and investigate. It's really hard to find places to go if you're into that field, if you're into anything spiritual, supernatural. There's nowhere to really go where you can investigate. We're lucky enough to be able to open it up to people so they can experience things, and they do. They leave here with EVPs, seeing things being touched, all sorts of stuff happening, and just like your locations, it sort of validates that there is something else going on there.
And I think too that even with the group of people that are on the call right now, it's encompassing, because for the people that have never done it before, you go to other regions and you go to other territories, and it's like they get belittled because they don't know things. And knowledge is power and learning. And, being able to pass on knowledge, to other people and maybe get them started in it and getting them interested in it. I'll use Tom and Kat and from the Buffalo Niagara Paranormal Group. I mean, they were fans. They were fans of Greater West New York Paranormal Society. They watched the show on YouTube, and I remember Tom, coming up to me and thinking my God, Dan's talking to me type of thing. And it's like, no, man, you're doing the right things, and you're interested in it. You're participating, and now they've become their own entity, and they're part of this. They're part of the group too, and everybody can grow together. Everybody can grow and be part of it,
Yeah, I totally agree with Dan there. We've seen people over the years come on investigations, even at the Statler, and now, from coming to an investigation, they're kind of leading the investigation and doing their own groups. So there is an awful lot more people who are coming along. And, because our buildings have got so much rich history, there's people who just want to come out there and get to know a little bit about the history. And because they're interested in the Statler, interested in Wildwood, Salem, the Greystones, and Hinsdale, because they get interested in the history and they come and they tour it and they find a little bit about the paranormal. I mean, the paranormal community is just constantly growing because of these historians that are, wanting to keep a track of old buildings, and the, people who've been from, Hinsdale, people who've been from Salamanca, and people who've been from, up there by Greystone. And people, Statler is a perfect example. There's, being a hotel, 1,100 rooms, there's so many people who stayed there, their grandparents, people's parents for their honeymoons, and it just gets people excited. And I think that's the cool thing about these old buildings. They have more stories than we'll ever know.
Yep, that's true. And our location, Greystone, we've been working with 4 different historians on the history here, just the land and the town and the ancient Indian burial grounds here and the canal, because we're a canal house, Erie Canal. So there's lots of funny history here, as we go through writing the book, the 3rd book, all on the history of the house and just the paranormal experiences people have had and just things that we've been told through word of mouth, through the families that lived here. So it's fascinating to keep that history all intact. I'm trying to put it all in order as I'm receiving things. People are finding old newspaper articles and just funny things about the house. And it's fascinating. Once you start really digging into it, the amount of stuff that happened in the location is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's the best thing when I go on Google and I kind of try and, Google Statler City or find out about some deaths, and you find someone who's actually passed away there. It's it's sad for a second, but you feel like you really accomplished something because you've got that one more spirit to try and reach out to, and you want to go and try and, validate with that person that's maybe still at the Statler, that spirit. That's a really cool thing. I think it's maybe sad in a way, but it's, when you find, history regarding your building, it's just like doing an investigation and getting a really good EVP for me.
Oh, it's like finding Easter eggs. Yeah, you get EVPs, you get names that pop up, and then someone sends you an article, a newspaper article from 1858 with those names in there. I'm like, oh my God, those are the names. It blows your mind.
I think if you kind of pinpoint it all together, everybody that's on the call, it's passion. It's passion for what we love to do. And when you go through a tour with Conor at the Statler, you hear passion in his voice. When Heather walks me through the Greystone, it's passion. We love what we do, and we love history, and we love to be able to tell the story the right way. And it cultivates, and it keeps getting different. As we find new things happening, the story grows, and it keeps getting better. And it's the same for all the locations. I'm sure, not speaking for everybody, but I'm sure that's probably the same. Like from the day you bought the location to the things have changed. Things are always changing. So, and we want the truth. We want to be able to let everybody know the truths of it and what's folklore.
Yeah, we definitely agree with that. We've always seen kind of the history as a puzzle that we kind of want to put together. We've had a really hard time finding history about the house, but I can't tell you how many hours just we've sat like at the historical museum reading old medical books trying to find something. But even groups have found newspapers articles and brought them to us and stuff like that, and just slowly we're piecing together the history.
Yeah, I enjoy going to all of your guys' locations, as I said before, and I enjoy listening and, watching you guys as you guys find out more about it, because it's kind of cool just to kind of be the person looking in, and it's pretty awesome. I think we've already kind of covered this one too a little bit. We're kind of going right in sync with all my questions so far. But how has this grown over time?
Well, I mean, from the day that I started paranormal investigating, I was warned about the community. I was warned about how cliquey it was. And I think my objective is to try and help build bridges. I think that's what I always try to do. Like Heather, when I first started doing the psychic fair, she's like, do I have to do a reading for you? I'm like, no. You're your own person. You're going to build your own reputation up. It's not on me. And I gave her a spot at the psychic fair. It's about building a community, trusting in each other, and things have definitely changed. Things have definitely changed over the past 10 years.
That's
for
true.
Sure.
Absolutely
I mean, there's still those cliquey people out there, and they stay in their little bubble. But I think our bubble's grown bigger. I think our bubble has grown bigger than anything that they could have ever expected, because we have an awesome group of people that all get along, that work together, that can fall back on each other. If I have somebody that needs help and I'm not able to help, I have so many people I could call now and say, do you think you could help these people out? It's amazing what we've built in Buffalo and Western New York, for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Obviously going into this and going walking around the Statler and hearing noises, doors closing, and audible voices, I never thought that people would be ever interested in taking a tour around it, walking around it. And I have requests to do, so many tours that it's like, I feel it's going to be hard when we kind of have to stop doing the tours in the Statler as renovations keep on going on in that building, because there's so many people who want to tour it. And not even do they just come there and we don't see them again. People are coming there back, and they're coming back very, very regularly because of some of the stuff they hear and the tours themselves and the people that lead the tours. So, in the last, 6 years, it's become huge. And you just got to look at some of the TV channels. When you look at the travel channel, it's not about too much travel anymore. It's all about paranormal. They got to call it the Paranormal channel. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Paranormal channel.
And that stuff was unheard of 15 years ago. Like, you did not have, ghost hunters, they broke new ground, and that was like a new thing that made it acceptable. Because before that, people thought you were a crackpot, and even if you were a psychic, they thought you were crazy, and you know what I mean? So it sort of goes hand in hand with a lot of that other
Heather,
stuff, too,
you
which
are
is
a
nice.
Crazy.
I am. Well, it's true. I'm a lot crazy. Yeah, but it's sort of cool to see how it's definitely gained momentum, and it definitely goes hand in hand, because people are, like I said, we mentioned all the other locations to people, and they're like, yeah, we've been there, or I'm going to go there, and yes, it's on my list, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I know with us, like, we started supporting, a local group in Buffalo doing public investigations. We were, like every Joe Schmo on the street, we were going to public investigations, and just for, honestly, we started it for the history. So we kind of started there, and then our addiction, you can call it, kind of gained momentum, and we started going to investigations every weekend. And then we started going to schooling for mediumship. We did this and that until, in 2017 when we bought the location, the sanitarium. And now looking from how that built up from having Paranormal Lockdown and all the different TV shows, all the guests we've had. And personally, we're always growing. Like, after I graduate in June, I'm going to be going to business college so that I can promote the house better and, do all that side of the house and everything. And we always have room for growth, and it'll always continue to just get bigger.
Life is a learning experience, and that's what we, every stage in our life, we get better and grow and learn, and that's the most important thing in life. We're all evolving, and I want to point out one other thing that I noticed. Like what makes Buffalo and Western New York great with all these locations is you go to like Ohio or Tennessee, they're charging. They're charging like $150 for a tour. Like they're charging a lot of money, and it's like I feel like people are getting taken advantage of, which is why I wanted to be very consistent with pricing with the Hinsdale House. Like nobody's going to come in and do a tour for over $40. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to come in unless it's a special thing, like where they're including food and overnight accommodations or something like that. This is the price. If you can do it for this amount, then great. If not, I have a line of people that want to do it, and I know, Heather, with the pricing, you've been doing tours for $25 and different, where people can actually come in and afford, and actually that people that are interested aren't going to be shunned out, because there's people when you go to other parts of the country that get shunned out from actually getting to go to investigation because they can't afford to go, and it sucks, because I feel like anybody that's interested should be able to have an opportunity. And I've even said that, like when I'm doing talks and tours at events and conventions and stuff, I'm like, if you can afford to come to the Hinsdale House, let me know and we'll work it out, because if you're a good investigator, there's potential that you could find something out that I didn't know. And by me shutting you out because you don't have $25, it's wrong on my part. It's not. It shouldn't be all about money. And yes, we need it to survive. Yes, we need it to pay the bills. But I think if you do good, it'll cultivate and come back to you tenfold. And I think everybody kind of has that same mentality with. Even with Statler tours, Wildwoods on you're going to get more and more interested people and more people that are talking about it and promoting it.
Yeah, I think we've all been doing these tours, and we've all been doing them for the last 6 years, and prices haven't really changed. But the one thing is funny that we talk about, how it's kind of changed investigating in the last so much years. I think I remember doing the first investigation at the Statler with 2 K2 meters and the spirit box. So, I think the equipment's changed a lot over the last 5 years. It makes it a little bit more, desirable.
Captivating.
And you get people a bit more connected, because you have people like Jeremy Jones out there, Paranologists, making good devices that are, visual. And you do have the kind of Joe Peary making, his boxes, and even the results are fantastic. So I think that it was very hard to try and maybe captivate people when you're doing tours, many, many, many years ago, because what did you have? You had your spirit box, you had your voice recorder, and you had your couple of K2s. I think it's a little bit easier to kind of get results now because of modern technology, and I think that's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah, we definitely agree, like, with what both of you guys are saying, how, like, we keep our prices low because we want everyone to have an experience. Obviously, anyone should have that. They should be able to experience the afterlife, and kind of everyone always has that question in the back of their head, like, what happens after you pass away? And with us being able to kind of provide them with some kind of answer is pretty fulfilling for us. And with the equipment, exactly, like, you always have something cool that's coming out that you always want to try. And it's just beautiful, really, how it grows so fast.
Yeah, and with all the different groups that we've had come to the house, it's really interesting to see how they investigate, because there is a big variety of different ways they investigate. Like some, are more psychic and mental and take in all all the things that way. There's other groups that are more like scientific and do different experiments to try to come up with things. So it's really cool to see the way people research. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, we've noticed that too. People definitely bring their own energy, which I love when the different groups come through, because there's always like the house reacts differently to the different people that come in. You know, they get different results, and it's fascinating. And then they'll contact us like a week later and say, we went through all the evidence and we found this, and we found pictures of this. It's amazing. And even there in real time, the things we catch, it just depends on the different people that are there. It's really, really cool. So I love having a variety of, letting anybody in there pretty much is pretty cool.
Yeah, we were just lucky enough to even have a school come for a field trip, and just to see how much those kids got into it. And you should have saw them. It was so great. They were taking the equipment and sitting in the basement, and I mean, they were all super into it. So you always have opportunities to expand, and it's really awesome, all the different people that are really like interested in it, and just to see like that school actually want to come to our location and just to, show the kids their history in their own town is pretty great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome to see that there's a lot of younger people that are starting to come out and be into all this. So actually, to go along with my next question, is there a stigma about the para community by the outside world?
I mean,
good question.
I mean, you can go, in my perspective, you can go online at any given time and see how different people react to different things. But I think it's important, to be able to look at things and decide what's right for you. Decide what is right for our community, and decide what do you want to build. Do you want to build something where people are arguing and bickering over if it's an orb or it's dust, or do you want to build a community that can sit down and talk and discuss things with a logical tone and maybe say, oh, you're right, or you know what, I still don't agree with you, but we're still going to have coffee together. And I think that's kind of what the stigma that we've built around here, at least with our group of investigators, and it's different. Some people are so stuck on like stardom and being on TV, or I don't know what the end game is, for some people, but I know that if it's supposed to happen, it will happen, and whatever's supposed to happen will happen in my life. I'm happy with what I've been dealt and what I've been able to do, and I know everybody here probably is the same way. That's why we all get along so well, because it's not a competition, it's not a game, and I think that people see that when we do our tours and when we have events and stuff like that. They see that we're all getting along, and it's great.
Yeah, on that question, I definitely do believe that there's a lot of people out there who just flat out don't believe in the paranormal, and they're very skeptical, and and I feel sometimes when you bring those people on tours, it kind of just puts the energy down, and you're not getting the good responses because I don't think the spirits are maybe trying to, are up to communicating. So that's a pretty good question, and I think we do. Unfortunately, you get some of those people that come out on the tours too, and they just want to come out and and they're going to try and disprove everything. And but the only reason they're there is because maybe their partner has kind of dragged them out to this investigation, and it happens, And I guess I was skeptical before I probably went into the Statler, and we all make our own choices. But I mean, I don't mind if I people who work at the Statler are still convinced that there's nothing there. Again, that's their choice, and it ain't going to change my mind. I know what I see, I know what I hear, and the vast majority of people who've investigated, kind of know that building, and every one of you guys have been there, and so I guess when people don't believe, they don't believe. They're never going to believe. If an apparition came in front of them, they probably still wouldn't believe afterwards.
Yeah, we have that too with you'll run into people who are very religious too. You'll have strict beliefs and things like that where they don't want any part of that. They think it's all, I don't know, you're conjuring demons or whatever, and they get all weirded out. They think just because you're a psychic or it's a haunted location that you have Ouija boards and you're doing all this stuff, and they've heard all these terrible things, but then they'll get brought to investigations here or probably your locations too, and then it's almost like change their mind once they realize what we're doing. We're just sort of trying to communicate. We're not doing anything, evil. But people have preconceived notions, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah, I think TV has a lot to do with that. I think they think they're going to come in and things are going to start flying off the walls and
right.
They
expect full-bodied apparitions.
Demons scratching you and right. bringing you down at every location you go to. And I think that's part of our job is to kind of set the difference between what's reality and what's reality TV and what's actual investigating.
We had to educate people on that because people always ask me, okay, when they come to the Statler, this is on paranormal lockdown. I say, yeah, you got to remember these guys were there for 72 hours. And we're here for 3 hours. And they had to review all our evidence. So, and we had to review all our evidence too. So you may not get the results going out of there and saying, okay, well, we definitely got. You hear an EVP, But sometimes most of the evidence we capture is people send it back to us when they go home and review their own evidence. So I think some people aren't patient with the paranormal. They expect, as Stan and the others you say, people they go in and they expect to see, a ball running down a hallway, or
right.
a kid who tries to go going red, run red.
Yeah. Well, we've had that happen too. Where we've had a very, really active things happen. Asking questions. K2's lighting up. REM pods going off and catching things on the SLS right while you're asking questions, and they're waving, and you're getting all these responses, and people are just looking at you blankly, like they don't understand when you watch those ghost hunter shows. Like you said, they've been there for days filming. But you're actually catching things right in front of your eyes. You're seeing things, and they're like, okay. They don't realize. They expect doors to be slamming and people to be running up and down the halls, and they expect all this crazy stuff going on, which does happen sometimes. But it's lucky.
Yeah, exactly. What you guys are saying. We've had people. You always get the people that'll put bad reviews on your stuff because they've never even been to the house, but they just don't like you. Or they'll comment stuff like on our events and stuff like that. But honestly, when, their significant others, we have that a lot, that their significant other will want to come to the house, but they don't, so they just kind of come and they say that they're babysitting. But then they'll leave our house with an experience, and it kind of changes their mind. And some people just don't believe, and that's kind of their choice, but I definitely feel like people have they just see us a certain way, especially some religious people. I've been called a devil worshiper and all this stuff just because I ghost hunt. We all just kind of want to figure out what happens in the afterlife. I'm not sitting here summoning demons and all this crazy stuff. I just have an interest in the afterlife, and that's all it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even know what people would be saying about me then.
Well, I think part of it is we don't really care what people think. We just be ourselves, and that's what makes everybody great in this whole conversation is we're just ourselves, and we're not worried about what other people think. That's why people grow to love us, and we all get along so well, because it's not about...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I definitely feel a lot more free to be myself within this para community, because now I've got people that I can talk to that understand what I'm talking about, and it's not that weird, awkward conversation. I have a lot of family members and in-laws that are I don't know what you're talking about. And it gets very awkward very quick, or very dark, depending on the topic and where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel very free to be who I am. So I wanted to also ask you guys, I've noticed many times that a lot of people seem to, they don't see the parent unity in the para community. What would you say to them?
Well, and a lot of people have actually said that to me, and I know Tom had brought that up to me probably 6 or 7 months ago from Buffalo Niagara Paranormal, and I said, just wait. And I said, just surround yourself by the people that are being accepting of you. Don't worry about the ones that are trying to push you back. And, at that point, I was being very supportive of him because I liked what they were doing. I think they were good guys and good kids, and just become your own and not worry about what other people think. And the people that are the same way thinking as you will start coming around you. And then the ones that are going to be negative all the time can go sit over in their corner and be negative. But you're gonna draw in what you give out into the world. So if you're positive and what your goals are and what you're trying to do, if you're pushing that out there, that's what's going to come back to you. And that's just basically my whole philosophy. Like, you put out there what you want coming back, and those are the people you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dan there. I think that, we're all old enough and mature enough to know who the people who we want to be around, and, and the negative people and people that don't want to support anybody else, they're going to be isolated. But I think,
plus there's a safety in numbers too,
Yeah.
There's something to that too, where we're all on the same page, we're all doing the same sort of thing. Like I said, we're all doing a little bit different, we're all in different locations, but we really all do have the same mindset. We're all sort of reaching the same sort of goal, and it can't hurt to help other people out, It comes back at you tenfold, you know how that is. So whatever
Exactly.
you put out there.
Yeah, I mean, karma's wonderful, and I think most of the people we deal with are 95% are wonderful people.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Definitely, just surround yourself with the good people in the community, and then the others can just kind of do their own thing. You'll definitely find your own little niche of people that you just really click with and share similar ideas with, so you just kind of stick together.
So, for my last question, and it's going a little bit more in depth with what we just talked about, but is there any advice you would give to someone who is interested in the paranormal but worries about how it may look to muggles?
It's funny. If you're worried about what a muggle thinks, then maybe, I don't know, maybe you need to do some more soul searching. It's I think that you only become your own by trial and error, and by worrying about what other people think. If you made a mistake, or there's no right or wrong in doing this. So when people are telling you that you did this, you attempted to do this wrong, or you're not doing this the right way, or this isn't respectful, I say to them, how do you know? How do you know what's going to get the reaction? How do you know what's going to, that's why I like to have so many different people, and so an eclectic group of people come into the Hinsdale house, because you never know what somebody's going to trigger, what's going to trigger something or get a different response. And if you're not being yourself, then how can we know for sure that you got the right answers, or you got the answers that you're supposed to get? And I think that's the most important thing, is just to not worry about what other people think, and just do your own thing, and just continue to learn and go on your journey, and set your goals, and then set another goal, and then set another goal. And as you achieve your goals, keep setting higher limits and keep pushing harder, because if you're worrying about what other people think and trying to be accepted, then it's going to set you back 10 times what your goal was. So it's be yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. For somebody who would not have thought that they would be in the paranormal, maybe 9 years ago, it's probably myself, because I'm running bars and restaurants, nightclubs down in downtown Buffalo, and some of the, busier nightclubs. So to kind of go from being very prominent in the nightlife scene, to being prominent in the paranormal scene, I didn't think that was much of a choice. It's something I wanted to do, and I think it's something that's paid off tenfold because the amount of enjoyment I get out of it is. I would rather go and do an investigation at the Statler than work a busy night at Sky Bar because I get more enjoyment out of the investigation, and I always kind of learn something new every day because somebody else comes there and they have a story regarding it. And I mean the personal satisfaction out of the investigating has been huge too. I mean, I've been recognized by family members that on TV shows, Paranormal Lockdown, when it was getting aired over in Ireland and different stuff. I got an award back in Belfast, and I got recognized for paranormal work too. And you got to write up in the paper, and that's something you just don't get by sitting back and not taking the opportunity and not going in. When we first brought investigators into Statler and they were doing their investigations, I can't say to myself, hey, I could do this too. I want to do this. So you start your journey and you start, you start off, maybe you get a K2, maybe you get a spirit box, and you keep on adding, and you just kind of become, sharper and better at what you do. And I think for anybody, my advice to anybody, hey, don't worry what anybody says. I mean, if they're friends of yours, they'll support you. If they want to be wise asses, then, they're not proper friends.
Yeah. But it is also about learning. It's all about accumulating knowledge, too, where it's sort of like these people who are small-minded and don't believe in anything spiritual. You know what I mean? You're not growing at all. So those people, you don't really want them around you anyway. You want people who are going to sort of accept you and what you're trying to, achieve and get out there.
I definitely would tell them to kind of, start slow. Go to, that October public investigation that you pay, $25 for, because all in all, the people that are there are kind of in the same boat as you. They've never been on an investigation, and they're just kind of there to either see something about the afterlife, just something like that. Just start off kind of slow. Go to a public investigation. Talk to a local investigator that you find online. Even visit a location and go on a history tour. Just kind of get your foot in the door in the field and just kind of start there. And then, I mean, if you're gonna have negative people that won't support you, just like in anything, you want to do anything, you're always gonna have those people that don't support you. So just kind of pick those people that will support you and just kind of run with them.
Beautiful. I think you guys all, gave excellent advice. And again, like I owe so much to all of you guys just for helping me get to where I am now. I mean, geez, I was a dog trainer and I quit that back in March, and now I'm doing this. Like, it's a total change of pace, and I've got to say I'm loving every minute of it. I have so much less stress, and it's been wonderful.
But you don't get to see all those puppies every day.
Oh, I've got plenty. I've got plenty.
I want to work with puppies every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do miss it, but this is definitely for the best for me, because there's just too much heartbreak and stuff, because people, until legislation changes and animals aren't just property, it's just going to be heartbreak. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but this, and that's what I say to a lot of people, actually, when they come to me and they're like, well, there's so much drama and stuff going on. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have an animal's life, like, attached to it, so I can deal with it. Like, I can ignore it. I can walk away. It's very hard for me to walk away when it's something that I really, really care about, like an animal. Like, and I don't even have to look at it, and I already love it. Like, that's just how I am.
Well, I think the cool thing about it is you can incorporate that into what you're doing and still have the love of animals into the paranormal even. I mean, you've seen that happen already, like with what we've done with that filming. And I think it would be cool to even push it even. You could train these dogs to maybe help with an investigation. I mean, you could actually, or animals Heather.
I have somebody coming in with a German Shepherd who's a paranormal investigator. He's, Yeah. They bring them on all their investigations, so we'll see how the cats like them.
Yeah, actually,
anybody can do it. You can do it.
Well,
Yeah.
and like everything's like connected. Like you could even do animal Reiki and stuff like that. I mean, it's
I
pretty
teach
much
that, yeah.
any interest you have, you can kind of tie it in somehow.
yeah, I do offer the animal Reiki, but here in Jamestown, there's not a huge like want for it still yet. But I have faith it will happen. I give to my animals anyways all the time. And my dog Chippy, actually, she's one of my supernatural psychic investigator mascots. She's blind and deaf, and she definitely uses those other senses to feel and see things. Actually, I just brought home a antique jolly monkey, and she can't see it, but she barks at it, and it's very interesting. You know, I won't say it's a haunted object or anything like that, but it's definitely got energy to it. I haven't really done too much work with it just because of how busy everything has been, but he is here and she can definitely sense him. So maybe she would be a good one to tag along with.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they definitely let you know when things are going on. Animals, for sure.
All right, so I would like to end this by saying that I've chosen this specific panel because of the hard work and dedication that these individuals have put into the paranormal community. They each have a location for us all to safely investigate and grow as investigators, and they do lectures and classes to further our education in subjects of the paranormal and metaphysical. I would like to take a moment and give a huge thank you to all of you from the bottom of all of our hearts. We all love and appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being on my show.
You're welcome.
Of
Yeah,
course.
you're welcome.
You're welcome. It was so nice to talk to all you guys, too.
Yeah.
Catch
Have a
up
nice
with you.
holiday, guys.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Hey, well,
Bye.
bye, guys. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Okay,
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining my circle tonight. It was a pleasure to discuss this spooky topic with you, and a thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. And as always, dreadful dreams. Remember, my darlings, to always be kind to those around you, including our friends with claws, fangs, and fur. Hello, darling. Love the show and want to be more involved? All while showing your support? Have I got the perfect thing for you? Subscribe to my Patreon page today, and as a patron, you'll have the option to select which tier you are interested in, with exclusive patron-only offers from early access, live stream chats, shoutouts, distant readings, and so much more. If this has piqued your interest, please follow the link in the chat or go to patreon.com and search Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn and become a patron today. Thank you for your support, darlings, and as always, dreadful dreams.